America, the land of the highest rate of incarceration in the world. Also supposedly the land of the free. And here's the thing. I have been in this conversation for so many years, and people seem so perplexed as what is the solution. And I do think that part of the problem is we are Americans. And so that means not only do we want a solution, we want that solution to be instantaneous. And there is no instantaneous solution. I mean, Ron Paul with his, release the nonviolent drug offenders from prison immediately, based on its, probably the most discriminatory prosecution of law and, so on and so forth. But does that really solve any problems? It would lower the incarceration rate. I actually think it would solve some of the problems. There are instantaneous things that can be done. But I think that the long-term solution has been sitting in front of our face this whole time, and we're just too afraid to discuss it. Anyone in America who doesn't understand the Perry study and the result of the Perry studies is living in ignorance. The Perry study very simply took kids from an impoverished area, young kids, I believe it was 18 months to 3 years old, and gave them daycare. Just daycare. Good, high-quality daycare. And after a period of 30 years, what are the final results? The kids that had access to the daycare, there's obviously a control and experimental group. Not only did they have lower incarceration rates, higher incomes, higher levels of education, they had improved health, which took strain off the healthcare system. They were more likely to be insured. That was at a time when insurance wasn't so available. But, the list went on and on and on of the benefits, not only to the individual, but to society. Predominantly, incarceration rates of those that received daycare at this young age were way lower. I don't remember the actual numbers, but it's a significant number. And then you look at the cost of daycare versus the cost of prison. Well, and then couple that with the $1 Million Block Project. And again, if you don't understand the $1 Million Block Project, you're living in ignorance in America. And it's probably not, quote, your fault, because what the hell? Media certainly doesn't talk about the $1 Million Block Project. That's not going to show up on your local news station, although people that listen to news all of a sudden feel like they're somehow educated about the ways of society. But the $1 Million Block Project just went on to say that there are blocks in America, city blocks, where it costs more than $1 million a year to incarcerate the people born on that block. And I haven't looked in a while, but I think there's some blocks that reach as high as $5 million a year, right? And we can't, as a society, have the foresight to say, hey, these two things are coupled. Let's go in and help the early childhood development of people born in these areas. And don't even think about it as a humanitarian, because humanitarian things sell to individuals, but they don't sell to societies. There's no big humanitarian movement in America that I think is highly effective. Name one, right? Even the civil rights movement has had so many detriments on the back end and backlash and everything. But financial movements, when you talk about prosperity of people and lowering total burden on society, financial burden on society, that should be sellable to every demographic of people, independent of political belief. And I think the numbers are clearly laid out for us. The studies are done. You give the daycare to the kids in the most difficult regions and high quality daycare, and the total financial savings is going to be astounding. Yet that's not even happening. That's not even talked about. And I don't think anyone's going to invite me or anyone with this message onto any of your local news stations or national news stations or international news stations for that matter.